Hi, I'm your Gemini friend. So this video is going to be about Chiron in the 4th house or in Cancer. And I do have a video in the description that goes more into the energy of Chiron, what this represents within your chart, and how to really use the energy. But just a brief explanation, Chiron is the wounded healer. This is a part of us that we suffer. It's a pain, a deep sense of vulnerability, of suffering. But through this pain, we are actually able to connect with and help people on a much deeper level. It's healing from experience, understanding and truly being able to have that compassion and empathy because of what you've been through. The way I see it, it's like a wound that we suffer from for the greater good. And by leaning more into healing, into integrating the pain that we've been through, we have so much more strength to back it up. This is inherently a painful placement. It's meant to be. When you focus on what this represents in you, and you transmute this pain into strength, it really unlocks your ability to heal. It aligns you with the people who are going to be suffering from that similar pain. And since you've experienced it, you're able to be a guide, a mentor, and a healer. And I do offer personal natal chart readings and synastry chart readings if you're interested in that, but let's get into this energy. So whether you have Chiron in the 4th house or in Cancer, the difference between the two of these is that in the sign of Cancer, Chiron is expressing itself through this Cancer archetype as a form of more personal expression. It's more like a personality. Chiron in the 4th house deals with this area of life that is so associated with Cancer energy, the home, the family, the roots, a sense of comfort. The 4th house has to do with feeling safe, feeling like we belong, and having protection, having support, our feelings, the way we process our feelings, the way we were taught to process our feelings or not taught, the way emotions were modeled to us early on in life. There's a strong link to early childhood, family, and the idea of what home is to you, the way that home was modeled to you, and the patterns that are formed from these early life behaviors, the sort of comfort that you seek out. But ultimately, it is tied to the emotions, to the feeling of inner comfort, thinking of like emotional turmoil as discomfort, and healthily processing your feelings, nurturing yourself, and allowing those emotions to do whatever they need to. Having Chiron within this energy, whether it's through the expression of Cancer or happening in your 4th house, it's likely that early on in life you did not receive the emotional support, the sort of care and nurture that you deserved. And ultimately, like, the key to this placement is compassion. It's about having compassion for yourself, allowing yourself to be vulnerable, and also having compassion for other people and allowing them to feel like you're a safe place to be vulnerable with them. But what can come with this placement so often is a coldness or an avoidance of certain emotional expressions, a suppression of the feelings, whether it's like all feelings or just a few off limits feelings. It can feel like you are not safe because there are things that you restrict yourself from without even necessarily realizing it. It's not intentional. This is a placement that's very linked with the formative years, and often to our parents or to whoever was in authority when we were very small and needed shelter, needed nurture, needed to learn how to process our feelings. What are we doing here? How do we interact with people? How do they make me feel? How do they respond to my emotions? There could be patterns that you picked up on, like when I express this, I get this reaction, and that could cause you to avoid it. But there can be a very strong feeling of being misunderstood or feeling like you don't belong that comes with this. It's not so much about your identity and who you are as much as it is with what you're allowed to feel, what you're allowed to express. Because there can be a link between your feeling of personal safety and how emotionally vulnerable you are. Of course, emotional vulnerability can be seen as weakness, and this can cause you to want to really appear strong and capable all the time, like you don't need help. This can be having an extreme aversion to people empathizing with you, people wanting to take care of you. That could repulse you. It could be very uncomfortable to be having like soft feelings directed towards you, to open up emotionally. Chiron in the 4th house is what is especially representative of childhood, family, home. And this can come with a very, like such a deep feeling of inner disturbance, discomfort. If you had an uncomfortable situation growing up, you could find that what is actually the most comfortable now is similar uncomfortable situation. So this can be seeking out, not intentionally, but unconsciously, finding yourself in situations that are very similar, because that's what might feel like home to you. And this can create a search for belonging, a search for a feeling of home that really can't be fulfilled outside of you, because this is ultimately about your own emotional expression and emotional processing. But when this processing is linked to a feeling of not feeling safe or not feeling fully supported, it is really, really important to create a sort of sanctuary for yourself, to actually determine what it is you want, what actually makes you feel comfortable, how do you actually feel about things, what is your ideal sense of home, and do your best to create the most ideal situation that you can for yourself. I understand that that's like not a simple and easy thing. Everyone is in a completely different situation, but knowing that you deserve better, knowing that you deserve stability, safety, support, just acknowledging it and knowing it, this will create more situations, more opportunities. If you're optimistic about it, if you're seeking out better because you know that you deserve better, it will come. You have to be looking for it, because this Cancer and 4th house, the energy is so instinctual. It's very flowing. We associate Cancer energy with mood swings, fluctuation in emotions, because this is a very emotionally expressive sign. In its healthy form, it's not holding back the feelings. Cancer energy recognizes the importance of nurture, whether that is to those that you care about, nurturing the emotional relationships, the connection that you have between each other. It understands the importance of building a firm foundation that is not so much about the literal foundation, but more about the connection, the support. It's family, and it's that unconditional love that comes from being so linked to someone. But with this energy, you might have to redefine family. If your birth family was not supportive, not what you needed, then you are by no means obligated to heal anything with them. It can be that sometimes we do need to heal things with family here. So of course, this is something that you have to determine on your own, whether certain familial relationships are worth putting that time and effort into, or if you would be better off getting support from more like-minded people, people who genuinely have your best interest at heart. It is important to navigate with the feelings, with the feelings that you have around certain people. But one thing that can come with suppression and family is guilt, shame, expectations. So if you find that there are situations that you just can't win, it's always gonna be the best choice to go with what makes you feel more secure, more healthy within yourself. Don't try to heal anything that's just going to bring you back to that place that you were in initially. Regression is not what we're going for. So I'm not promoting healing anything that, like, you can tell that the person is not interested in healing it. You can tell it wouldn't be a healthy and sustainable situation for you. It's really up to you. I mean, safety and supportive connections, those are what are important here. And when it comes to using your feelings as a guide, this can make the feelings a little bit confusing. It can be important to get really clear on what is behind your emotions. Maybe pay attention if it feels like you're guarding certain parts of you. Why? A lot of introspection can be needed here, but the thing with this is that it's more about community and support through your emotional connection. So this isn't the sort of introspection where you have to do it alone. It can be a really great idea to take your time and slowly build up trusting connections. It is key that you're very thoughtful about these connections, and it's likely that you would be with the sort of cautiousness that comes with this. But having a safe environment, a safe person to really explore feelings with, really explore what you've been through, your past, because this energy with the fourth house, with Cancer, it is strongly associated with the past. There can be a strong sentimentality to it as well. And even that connection to family that is more guilt-based, more like we're blood, we have to stick together, that sort of thing. The goal is to find what you truly need, what you are truly craving, your inner child. This has a lot to do with parenting your inner child, with even going back into memories that are especially painful and being the parent for that child self, having conversations and facing those feelings that you might have been feeling in the moment but didn't allow yourself to express. When we don't express our feelings in the moment, of course, we have to have some form of control over ourselves, but this can be too much control, and it can go the other way. You could be a very strongly emotional person. It could be more of that Cancer moodiness where there is like a total ups and downs, but I'll get into that in a minute. If you were emotionally neglected, if you felt unloved, or like the love was conditional, we can keep these things inside us and then just never process them. And this child version of ourselves still remembers it, still feels it, and it's like stored deep within us. Sometimes we have to look for these things. It's really, really hard. It's really hard to face. But the thing with feelings is that once they have been released, then they're gone. I mean, they're not going to be gone completely, but the pain is gone. The chemicals that are associated with the experience in your body are released. And it can take more than one time, because this sort of root can go very deep. I mean, generational trauma, cycles within your family. This is heavy stuff. This is a very heavy Chiron placement, because your self-worth, your sense of who you are in the world, it's determined by those people that are supposed to be supporting us. It varies from person to person, but the amount of influence that those people in our lives early on, the way that they play off of our energy, the responses that we get, we can internalize them to such a crazy degree. And what I was saying before with emotions being more out of control rather than like really controlled, or having certain ones be suppressed, this energy can also come more with a sense of like a lack of boundaries or an overdependence on other people. If you don't feel like you have the strength and ability to take care of yourself, if you don't feel like you're enough on your own, this can be a codependent placement to have, or the sort of placement where you are willing to give so much, all the support that you could possibly come up with. You will love so hard, but all this love that you're giving, it's usually what you need. If you can find a way to direct this love inwardly to yourself, to give yourself the ideal sort of feeling, like, what would I love to have directed towards me? You can always direct it towards yourself. I know that it can seem more affirming coming from another person, but we need to create this emotional sanctuary within ourselves where we at least feel secure and safe at all times, like everything's gonna be okay. Because ultimately, this can really come with a feeling of like nothing is okay ever. It can be very tense, and it can actually cause a lot of nervous energy, especially when encountering situations where we have people that will remind us of maybe some uncomfortably familiar energies, or really any situation where we're expected to be vulnerable. And sometimes if you suppress or deny your feelings too much, they can come out very unexpectedly. That can be linked to the moodiness, because we don't always know exactly what's going on in there. We don't always know what's going to trigger us, what's going to bring something up. So that's why having a healthy relationship with your like immediate reaction to things, your emotions regarding any given thing, is so important. Because the more you understand, the more you know what to expect. You have a feeling of comfortableness inside yourself. It's that internal comfort, that sense of stability. It comes from you. But you could easily be like completely numb to your own pain. You need to understand that it's not selfish to focus on yourself. It's not selfish to focus on healing and on emotional indulgence. It shouldn't feel indulgent just to feel. And to express that to another person, that can almost feel off limits. It can feel like they won't care because that was modeled to you. It can feel like you'll be punished for showing that you're upset, for saying that you don't agree with something. If you grew up in a very strict, disciplinary sort of like do not talk back environment, that can make it scary to express when you're disagreeing with something, or just the act of saying, this makes me uncomfortable, I don't want to do it. That can be hard, like really hard. It can feel like your support system is at risk. It can feel like you could be kicked out, you could be ignored. The association there is much stronger than the actual situation, the actual feeling. It's like having this really heavy weight attached to something that really should be able to flow. So check any areas of stagnancy, any, living in the past, like I mentioned before, having an excessive sense of sentimentality, or like living in memories, revisiting old stories. Of course, these things can be a source of comfort. It's just important to recognize if it's healthy, like I'm revisiting this occasionally because it makes me feel good, or this is something that I focus on to ignore something deeper. It's really important to recognize your freedom, because Cancer energy, this is like the crab. We have a protective shell. We're protecting our soft insides with a layer of defense. It's to keep us safe. It's because feelings are vulnerable. Feelings are raw. Emotions, we can have a tendency to play them off for all sorts of different reasons, but there is so much power in being emotionally vulnerable, especially around other people, because your feelings are actually linked to the way that you heal. And it can be as simple as the more you allow yourself to really release and express those emotions, the more the people around you are healed, the more you are attracting people who are going to be healed by your energy. And it's creating so much support around you just through healing within yourself, because those healthy feelings, when they flow, I'm telling you that your feelings are actually linked to your healing. Think of it as like a healing fountain when you are actually honestly expressing yourself. No matter what way it is distorted, the expression, whether it's overdoing it, underdoing it, ignoring it entirely, having shame and guilt attached to it. It's just important to get to the point where it's a natural flow. This energy is meant to flow. Cancer is a water sign, and there's a natural softness to it. It really thrives when that softness is appreciated. And ultimately, what is the home to all of us is the earth. And what can come with this placement, especially Chiron in Cancer, you have this very deep ability to heal the world, to focus on nourishing, Mother Nature. The world gives us so much, and we as a whole neglect it. This can be a very deeply painful thing for people with Chiron in this energy, feeling like we're mistreating our home planet. We are destroying the world that is our source of everything, In a way, it's like we're all one big family. But this Cancer energy combined with Chiron is very influential for the overall, crisis that the earth goes through. I don't want to get into that, but your ability to connect like physically with the earth, it could be deeply healing to go to water, to spend time around water, or to take care of plants. Nourishing things is such a good thing for this energy. You are so highly capable of nourishing and supporting other people, their feelings, and being a truly safe environment for them to explore all of the deep, raw parts of themselves. You have such a strong understanding of the significance of vulnerability, what it means to actually be vulnerable with another person. And when I mentioned the power that comes with being vulnerable, what I mean by that is that if, just for example, if someone were to cry publicly, like that's it, they've done it. You can't take that back. And there is a sort of power in that it's like, okay, what are you gonna do now? You've seen me cry. Once you've broken through that barrier, it's like, what else can you throw at me? I'm being vulnerable. I'm being open with you. What else? This can be a really great placement for a boss or for a leader, because you create such a great environment for the people around you that really feels like you are truly, genuinely caring about them. As a boss, you would treat your coworkers like a family. And like I said at the beginning, compassion is the key here. The more compassion you can have towards yourself, towards your humanity, towards the fact that you are an emotional being. You can't get around it. This is how we navigate, it's how we connect. But we judge ourselves so much, and we judge other people so much. Like, recognize any judgments that you find you're frequently making about other people, even if you're keeping it completely to yourself. Those are likely somehow linked to feelings of unworthiness within you, maybe what you were told very early on, ideas that were projected onto you. You don't have to keep these ideas. You can go through everything within you, everything you've ever been through, sort through it, see what's real, what's true to you, what you want to keep, and get rid of what you don't, what is linked to the heaviness, the past. We don't need that. We're moving forward. We're healing. You make the best of what you can't change and move forward optimistically. But sometimes the very idea of roots can be confusing, where you come from. There could be all sorts of elements at play here, but determining who you really are, the truth of your roots, getting clear on that can be very helpful. I know that's a vague statement. It's so specifically personal for every individual person that I can't even come up with an example for that, but this is about our roots. Root chakra healing, really focusing on that and what it means to you, can be so incredibly beneficial for this. But ultimately, this is about your own sense of emotional comfort, the way that you treat yourself on the inside, the parent that you are to you, the way that you allow yourself to process your emotions. This has so much to do with the way that you show up outwardly and the way that other people receive your energy, because your emotional expression is healing. It's something that can deeply affect other people. So it's important to keep in mind that lower expressions of these energies can also affect the people around you. You can have these uncomfortable feelings bleed out and cause other people to feel uncomfortable. I don't mean that in a way to make you nervous. I'm just saying that your emotions really have power. So give yourself the sense of comfort that you deserve by going very deep within and solving the issue of what makes you feel like you don't belong, or like your needs aren't being met, or like you're not safe, like you need to protect yourself. Really explore that in the most compassionate way that you possibly can. Look at yourself the way that the ideal mother-child relationship is supposed to be, that unconditional love, that desire to protect and support no matter what. Feel that way about yourself. It's easier said than done, but that's the goal, because that healthy sense of self-compassion bleeds out and other people feel it, and then they feel so comfortable with you. They feel like you are such an incredible source of emotional nourishment, a healthy place to really express themselves. Your compassion is so potent, so use it wisely. That's what I've got to say with this. So I really hope that this helps. If you have any questions or things that you want to say about it, please let me know. There are so many different ways that this can play out because families are so different. Our origins, our childhoods are so incredibly different for each individual, but this is always linked to our feelings of safety and our emotions. So thank you so much for watching. I love you. Bye.